Lighting filter in Affinity Photo can be used to create all kinds of unusual designs. This is how in under 3 minutes. Now I'm going to use a paintbrush. Just going to apply one that I created in the previous video, so please check that out. It's a very basic one, a blurry gradient design, just created using a feathered selection and a gradient. Once you've created that, you could use this, but I like to actually add a little bit more structure to it. So I'm just going to reduce this size, maybe make two, you can see a little bit more there. Now this is using scatter. Scatter spreads it out all across the image. That's in the brush stroke. But the key thing is go to filters and blur. Before you apply the lighting, I would suggest apply the blur filter or Gaussian blur, any of these. So Gaussian blur, I'm going for about 3.5 there. I'm going to go for about 7 initially. So apply about 7. You could use radial, motion for different effects. Just subtle settings. That's all you need to do. And click apply. Then go to filters and lighting and now apply it. If you didn't do that, you would end up with these weird ridges all across it. I'm not certain why it does that. Unfortunately, there's no filter, no feature here to do that, to do the blurring effect. It'd be great if it was. Now this light, I'm using spot. You could use point or directional, but spot I'm going with. You can change the colour. So click there and you can just set it to anything. I'm going to go with orange, but it could be green, blue, etc. You can also modify the ambient. But the key thing for this texture, so go down here, texture, not load, bump map, etc. Go here and just change that. Now, if you didn't go with the blur beforehand, you'll notice very unusual ridges all the way through this, which you might want. Personally, I prefer this effect more than the ridges. You can also add additional lights. Don't have to have just one. You can have 2, 3, 4, 5. There's probably a limit. Click add. And you can then move that to that direction. And you can see and create a variety of different designs just using this. Click here and change the colour. Maybe go for yellow. Yellow and orange. Blue. And click apply. Now you don't have to go any further. If that's what you want, you've got a lovely, unusual surface design there. But you can always go to layer and fade lighting. Just run through that and you can go through blend modes and you can try out different, you see, create a variety of different designs simply by changing that, changing the fade. Going through those and you can see the result of that. Now I'm just going to keep it as is or go to filters and just repeat to create that. That does create some slight ridges. You can see that there. You might like to go to filters and blur and again Gaussian blur. Now, I wouldn't suggest going 7.1 this time. Maybe just reduce it just a bit. Maybe 2.4, 3.6, depending on the document, of course. Click apply. So you've just blurred it slightly. You can, of course, maybe change your colours. Distort it, use deform, use other filters before you go and apply lighting again. But I'm just going to go to filters and lighting. And this time, just drag this one out. Again, you could use spot, point, directional, but I'm using spot and I'm just going to position there. And now sometimes if you've been using one of these tools over here, you might find you can't access this. So the key thing is always the move tool. Again, go for texture and you can see then, I think that looks a much nicer effect than if you went for before. Unless you want that super sharp look, I think that blur effect gives an added touch. But push the texture up to the max and then again, if you want, go to add and you can add additional light. Now you can always go back and forth. So notice I made a mistake. I didn't change the colour. I wanted to change the colour. So go to light 1, click here and then change colour. Let's go for there, green. And you can change the settings there. Oh, I went ambient. I meant that one. There's the green there. And then go to 2, click there and go to blue. And you can see and create again all kinds of combinations. Again, this is also useful as well. Even though I made a mistake earlier, went to the ambient light where I didn't intend to, you can click here and you can change that and that will create even more unusual colour effects. And you can also change the ambient setting here. You see as you change it, you see more and more of the blue. Might go for about there, about the middle, and click apply. And of course you can repeat this. but you can create infinite number of combinations of these designs